Surah Al-Imran, verse 24. That is because they say, "Never will the fire touch us except for a few numbered days." And because they were deluded in their religion by what they were inventing. Summary of the interpretation of verse 24 from Surah Al-Imran. This verse explains the real reason behind the boldness of the children of Israel in disobeying God's commandments and their refusal to refer to the Torah for judgment among themselves. It stems from a deep-rooted religious arrogance that led them to belittle sins and believe that the fire would only touch them for a few limited days. Specifically, the days in which they worshipped the calf. This arrogance was based on false beliefs and lies about God, such as their claim to be the children of God and His beloved, and that they were a chosen people who would not be held accountable no matter what they did. One of the most dangerous causes of this arrogance was their assumption that the large number of prophets sent to them was a sign of their virtue, and that those prophets would intercede on their behalf. In reality, the abundance of prophets was a sign of their repeated corruption, not of their righteousness, as they used to kill and belie the prophets. That is why they needed so many messengers to guide them. They thought those prophets would intercede for them, forgetting that intercession only happens by God's permission, and only for those who believe and are mindful of Him, not for those who persist in sin and reject God's rulings. Thus, they were deceived in their religion, fabricated lies against God, denied divine laws, demanded leniency, and refused to carry out stoning for adultery, despite knowing it was the truth in the Torah. For that, they deserved the blame and exposure that came in these verses from God Almighty. Brief summary. The arrogance of the children of Israel led them to make light of God's rulings and believe that the fire would only touch them for a few days. This arrogance was built on false beliefs, such as thinking their prophets would intercede for them, and that having many prophets was a sign of honor, whereas it was actually proof of their ongoing corruption and constant need for guidance. Surah Al-Imran verse 25. But how will it be when we gather them for a day about which there is no doubt, and each soul will be compensated in full for what it earned, and they will not be wronged. Summary of the interpretation of verse 25 of Surah Al-Imran. The previous verse explains that the disbelieving Jews were overcome by arrogance due to false beliefs and fabrications against God, such as their claim that they were the sons and beloved of God, and that they were a chosen people who would not be held accountable for their actions. They also believed that the large number of prophets among them was a sign of intercession and evidence of their virtue, even though the truth is that the large number of prophets sent to them was evidence of their repeated corruption, not of their righteousness. God responds to them with a mocking response. If you think that, pay attention, how will you be if you find the truth before you? That the day of resurrection will come and you will find it to be true. This day, the day of resurrection, is a day whose occurrence is beyond doubt, and on it every person will be held accountable for what they have done with complete justice. In this world, God gave them freedom of choice. Whoever does good, God rewards them with paradise. Those who exploit this freedom and commit sins in this world will have come to an end. On the day of resurrection, their limbs will cease to obey man and become witnesses against him. Their tongues, hands, feet, and even their skins will testify against them for what they did. The limbs that were used for sins obeyed man, despite their hatred of what he did. As for the hereafter, man cannot control them. Their role has ended, and man will have only what he earned in this world and its outcome in the hereafter. With no return to this world, God does not wrong anyone, but rather rewards every soul with complete justice for what it earned in this world.